Heyo, welcome to another episode of Sports Talk. I'm here with my brother Mustafa. We're going to discuss the upcoming UFC fight night, Machado Giri versus Prates. It's actually a really good card, and we're just going to break down our picks, not the fights, because we usually do that for the pay-per-view event. For this, it's a good card, but so we're going to break down just the picks. The first fight is, oh boy, the names are, okay, Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. Now, I'm going to go... Now, I know... I'm going to go with Ikram Aliskerov simply because he looks like Islam Makhachev. And that's what I'm going for.
Ikram is coming off a loss, actually. And Muniz is coming off a win. But Ikram is a heavy favorite at minus 550. And I'm going to go same thing. He seemed like a Dagestani Russian fighter. And it's hard to doubt those guys. So I'm going Ikram as well.
Basically, we know nothing about him other than the fact that he looks like him.
Oh, I know. He lost to Whitaker last fight.
Oh, yes, he did. He did.
You're always telling me
I'm choosing him based on he looks like Islam Makhachev. That's all I'm going on.
Let me do the next fight. Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. So they're both coming off a win, actually. But I've seen a few Randy Brown fights, so I'm going to go Randy Brown. I think he's going to win by knockout.
I think I'm going to go with Nicholas Dalby. And the reason I'm going to go with Nicholas Dalby is because I feel like he has a more complete game than Randy Brown. I think Randy Brown has more knockout power, but I understand he's the favorite, but I think Nicholas Dalby can pull this off via decision.
Okay, on to the next fight. Michael Pereira versus Abus Magomedov. I think
his name is Michel Pereira.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know this guy.
Yeah, I know.
I watched his fight so many times.
But I think you pronounce his name Michel.
Okay, it's Michel.
Yeah.
All right, calm down. Michel is a favorite apparently, which is a shocker. I know he's I know he's ranked. The other guy's not ranked, but once again the name. But Michel has a lot of knockout power. 11 wins by knockout. But he's coming off a loss, so I don't know why he's the favorite. I believe the other guy's also so the other guy's coming off a win. He's coming off a win, and he has 14 wins by knockout. So I'm going Magomedov by a knockout, second round.
Yeah, I'm definitely going Magomedov because first of all, I hate Michel Pereira's fighting style. I don't know what he keeps doing, jumping around, doing flips for absolutely no reason, throwing weird strikes that aren't going to land whatsoever. He wastes, in my opinion, more energy than he actually does anything good. So for that reason, I think he's going to lose to Magomedov. And we'll move on to the next fight.
So the next fight is, pronounce the name?
Oh, it's Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. I'm going to go with David Onama. I think Giga, I watched quite a bit of Giga's fights, and he's not the favorite, which rightfully so. I think he's on his way out of the UFC. I think this lost, and he's gone from the UFC, depending on his contract, though. But I think he's not at the level of UFC anymore.
Yeah, so he's coming off a loss, like you said, and David Onama is coming off a win. And rightfully so, the odds maker got it right. I think if you want to make a bet, you go with David on this fight.
Yeah, I think so.
Next fight, Anthony Smith versus Zhang Mingyang. I choose anyone that's not Anthony Smith because I don't believe Anthony Smith can win any fight from now on.
Yeah, I agree. It could be anyone against Anthony Smith, and I mean anybody in the UFC against Anthony Smith, and he's gonna lose. And he's a heavy underdog. If you want to make no money, but put a lot of money, if you really want to make it, you put it on Zhang, because I'm like as 100% sure as you can be that Zhang is gonna be Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis. Sorry, Anthony Smith. And Zhang Mingyang is also coming off a win. His last fight he won against Diaz. So Anthony Smith is coming off a loss. He's coming off many losses. I think his last loss was to Dominic Reyes, if I'm correct. and I think he's gonna get knocked out. And he's had a tremendous career. He's had 40-something wins. He needs to call it a career. That's ridiculous. He's fighting way too often.
Yeah, I like I said, he's gonna lose. I believe he's at the end of his career, and I think he should retire after this fight. Either way, win or loss. So let's move on to the main event now. It's the Fighting Nerds. They're taking over. If you know the UFC, you know the Fighting Nerds. The four of them, the group of four, unbeatable. They're like the new Russians. They're like the new Dagestani fighters. They're all undefeated in the UFC. They've all been winning. They all might be champions, but he's fighting Ian Machado Gary. Tough fight. I don't think people give respect to Ian Machado Gary enough. He lost once, and people act like he's a washed-up fighter. No one gives him respect, and he lost to Rakhmonov, and it was a close. It wasn't like, oh, Rakhmonov destroyed him. It wasn't like that.
So, are you taking Machado Gary?
My pick is going to be Machado Gary on this one.
I think you're wrong, and I think the odds makers are wrong. They have Machado Gary as a favorite. No one's beating Carlos Pradas. He's a future welterweight champion.
An 11-fight win streak.
Yeah, he's the future welterweight champion. The only person that can beat him right now in the welterweight division is Bilal Muhammad. And that is it, and that's the current champion. That's the only person. That's what I think Bilal can take a beating, and Bilal's got really good fight IQ and his pressure. I think that's the only person in the welterweight division that can possibly beat Carlos Pradas. As you said, the Fighting Nerds, they're taking over. And he's one of the best. Smoking 2 packs of cigarettes, coming in and whooping tail in the octagon. It's a breeze for him right now.
Yeah, like you said, if you haven't watched him fight, very exciting fighter on an 11-fight win streak. And he does smoke cigarettes even during his fights, fight camps, apparently.
Yeah, so if you want to make good money, somehow he's the underdog. He's a plus 110 according to the odds on the UFC website. So put your money on Carlos Pradas, in my opinion. I think he's going to beat Ian Machado Gary, and I think he's going to win by knockout.
No, I honestly, I'm going to go Ian Machado Gary. It's a toss-up fight, but I'm going to Ian Machado Gary just based off his last performance, even though it's coming off a loss against Rakhmonov. I thought no one can challenge Rakhmonov, but he did, and he did very well. And I believe he was a short-notice fight for him as well. So he did that well against Rakhmonov in a short-notice fight with a full camp.
But I think it's like the same thing that happened to, what's his name, Brazilian fighter, welterweight, moved up to a short notice to fight Hamza Chimaev. He fought for the title. Why am I forgetting his name? He fought Usman. His friend's Usman. He trained with him. Why am I forgetting his name?
Gilbert Burns?
Gilbert Burns. There we go. Gilbert Burns. It's like Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns had a close fight with Hamza Chimaev when he moved up short notice. But I think the reason why it was close, just like the reason this fight was close with Rakhmonov, was the fact that it was short notice. And because of that, it was... and ever since then, I don't know if Gilbert Burns has even won a fight.
But whatever you say, I do think Ian Machado Gary is still going to win. I believe he's going to win, and I think it's going to go decision, to be honest. So let's see how it goes. Yeah, it's a good fight card. Good card, actually, after... some of these fight nights haven't been the best. This is a pretty good card that they could have put some of these fights on the pay-per-view, on a pay-per-view card. And I do believe if Prates wins, he should be soon fighting for a title shot.
Yeah.
And Ian Machado Gary, they got to give him a full camp. If he wins, he's got to fight maybe once more and then give him a title shot with a full camp. But yeah, let's see how it goes. Thank you for tuning in, and tune into our next episode.